Discover the incredible journey of Zeus. An amazing transformation full of hidden secrets exposed. Zeus Thompson felt like a ghost in his own life, drifting through the oil-stained garage while the rain tapped incessantly against the roof. The smell of gasoline clung to him, a constant reminder of his mundane existence, overshadowed by his brother Derek's polished facade and thriving career. How did he end up here? A mechanic in a dying town, wrestling with rust while Derek strode through courtrooms in tailored suits. The weight of family expectations was stifling, grinding at his spirit. Every wrench turned felt like another reminder of his underwhelming reality. The clatter of tools echoed what felt like a hollow existence. As he turned the bolts on a vintage Mustang, Zeus's hands trembled. He grappled with an uncomfortable truth. In a world where success was measured by status and wealth, was he simply a failure? The thought twisted through him like the stray wires littered across his workshop floor. The Mustang was a relic, just like his dreams buried under grease and grime. But as he pried open the trunk, something unexpected caught his eye: a hidden compartment. Intrigued, he unearthed a series of faded letters. His father's familiar scrawl emerged from the shadows of lost memories. Each letter pulled Zeus deeper into the story of a father who struggled to keep a business afloat and faced betrayal at the hands of those he trusted most. With every revelation, his heart tightened. His father's passion for cars had been overshadowed by shame, pride, and ultimately, defeat. Zeus read on, struck by the pain of dreams slipping away. The factory smoke swirling outside felt suffocating, wrapping around him like a noose. Could he dare to dream when his family's legacy was laced with such disappointment? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Unraveling the truth ignited a fire within him. Could his father's crushed aspirations be the cradle for his own rebirth? But as he formulated a plan to revive the family business, doubt clawed at him. Derek's smug grin flashed through his mind, the reminder of all he'd ever wanted to escape. Could he stand in his brother's shadow while reclaiming what was rightfully theirs? The community they grew up in remembered the fallout. Support was scarce, and voices of ridicule echoed loudly as he reached out to Margaret, a brilliant engineer struggling against the tide of gender bias. He felt both excitement and unease. Could they really combat the system together? Out of desperation emerged a fragile hope, yet uncertainty lingered, like the storm brewing outside. Tension rose as he discovered Derek was not only an obstacle but a silent adversary, scheming to undermine him at every turn. Each whispered rumor, each legal barrier hammered home the bitterness of betrayal. Zeus felt trapped, torn between familial loyalty and the burning need to forge his own identity. The weight of indecision loomed large. Should he confront Derek, risking everything he held dear, and unearth the festering resentment between them? Or retreat, suffocating under the guise of brotherly love? The swirling thoughts enveloped him like the clouds outside, heavy with imminent rain. He stood poised on the precipice of a life-altering choice, eyes narrowed against the raindrops cascading down the window, reflecting a tumultuous sea of emotions. His phone buzzed with a message from Margaret, and for a brief moment, the world around him disappeared, leaving only the challenge before him. The stakes had never been higher. The message from Margaret was direct. "We need to meet. I have an idea." Her words crackled through the static of his thoughts, resonating with the urgency that had been building within him. He texted back quickly, agreeing to meet at the diner on the edge of town, a familiar haunt where they both often reminisced about brighter days. Away from the weight of the family legacy, as he drove his battered van through the rain-slick roads, his mind raced with possibilities. What if they could bring the old garage back to life? It wouldn't just be a workshop. It could be a sanctuary for those like the misfits in a world that often valorized conformity and wealth. Ideas collided like the raindrops on his windshield. He envisioned not merely repairing cars but reinvigorating dreams, launching both their ambitions in a space filled with grease, metal, and resilience. Upon arriving, he spotted Margaret seated in a corner booth, her brow furrowed in concentration as she doodled on a napkin. Her intensity was magnetic, and Zeus felt a flicker of hope at the thought of their partnership. As he slid into the seat across from her, he noticed her face light up momentarily before a shadow of worry crept back in. "Derek is getting more serious about pushing us out," she said, her voice steady but laced with concern. "If we want to do this, we need to act fast. I have connections that can help with launching a crowdfunding campaign. But we need a solid plan." Her words invigorated him, yet a knot of fear tightened in his stomach. This was the point of no return. They were not just battling against Derek's opposition but also the glaring doubts that plagued his every move. He began to map out their strategy. It would necessitate tapping into the local community, though memories of ridicule loomed large. Could they turn skeptics into supporters? Zeus opened up about his father's letters, sharing their significance and the revelation of their father's strife. He forged connections between past struggles and their present opportunity. "This isn't just about cars, Margaret. It's about reclaiming our family pride. We can honor our parents' dreams while building something of our own." For the first time, he saw recognition in Margaret's eyes. Encouraged, he leaned into his newfound determination. They worked late into the night, bouncing ideas back and forth, drawing up plans for marketing, outreach, and community engagement. It felt liberating. Each brainstorm chipped away at the shackles of his self-doubt. But lurking beneath the surface was an unrelenting tension. He knew Derek wouldn't easily relinquish his influence. The very thought of confrontation made Zeus's pulse quicken. He envisioned the brotherly bond splintering, the possibility of a bitter fallout. Still, every moment they spent brainstorming, developing their plan, convinced him that there was no way forward without facing his brother. The looming conflict galvanized his spirit like the roar of an engine as they finalized their ideas. A renewed conviction surged within him. The transformation was not merely about the business. It was about eradicating the ghost of failure haunting him. He was no longer just a mechanic clinging to rust and grease. He could be a leader who turned dreams into tangible reality. But just then, his phone buzzed again, a message from Derek. "We need to talk. I know what you're planning." The challenge was unmistakable. The stakes had now risen exponentially. Would he summon the courage to meet Derek head-on? Or would he allow fear to dictate his path? With a deep breath, Zeus prepared himself for the confrontation that could either dismantle his aspirations or elevate him to heights he never imagined. The moment of truth had arrived, and all that was left was to take the plunge. The diner was nearly empty as Zeus sat alone, swirling his coffee absent-mindedly. The rhythmic drumming of the rain against the window mirrored his internal turmoil. Derek's message replayed in his head, a relentless loop of doubt that clawed at his resolve. Could he face Derek? Every nerve in his body screamed for retreat, yet deep down, he understood that avoidance would lead back to his past of complacency. Why did this confrontation loom like a storm cloud? It wasn't solely about Derek's threat. It symbolized everything he feared yet aspired to overcome, the familial ties that bound him to a path he despised. His heart raced as he envisioned the moment he would have to stand firm, defend his vision, and assert the man he was aiming to become. An idea took root. Confrontation could be reframed from a source of fear to a catalyst for growth. He realized that they weren't just brothers anymore, they were rivals, standing on the precipice of their futures. Suddenly, the bitter taste of his father's disillusionment began to transform into a bittersweet motivation. How many opportunities had he let slip through his fingers because of fear? But what if he could channel the experience into something powerful? Zeus's thoughts fractured as the diner door swung open. A gust of cold air swept in, pulling him back to the present. Margaret entered, her damp hair clinging to her forehead. She spotted him and made her way across the room, her expression a mix of determination and empathy. "I've been thinking," she said, sliding into the booth, her coffee cup in hand. "We can prepare for Derek. It's not enough to react, we have the chance to anticipate. If we want to win over the community, we need a narrative. We need to show them what we stand for. Zeus felt the pulse of his idea quicken. You're right. If we can craft our identity, we can counteract whatever Derek tries to throw at us. If we create something authentic, they won't just see our passion, they'll feel it. His thoughts painted vivid scenes of community support. Cars in the garage, people gathered, stories shared. He could almost hear the engine purring, the warm scent of metal, oil, and ambition blending together in a symphony of hope. As they dove into a brainstorming session, planning every detail, he felt himself transforming at a fundamental level. Each rational argument against their father's failed dreams began to fracture under the weight of their renewed purpose. They crafted slogans, designed logos, and sketched out how they'd connect with those who shared their aspirations. Hours passed as they pored over ideas, their energy palpable. Yet, the undercurrent of uncertainty still thrummed. What if Derek dismantled their efforts swiftly? Maybe we should openly confront him after launching our campaign, Margaret suggested, her pen tapping pensively against the napkin. Let him know we've taken our future into our own hands. Zeus considered this carefully. Confrontation was unavoidable. I think we should be ready for whatever he throws our way. The challenge may expose not just the cracks in his facade but ours as well. But it's about more than just resisting him, it's about improving ourselves. As they captured their thoughts, Zeus caught a glimpse of the man he could be. Never before had he felt so capable, so invested in a future unchained from past failures. The rain had subsided as they exited the diner, and for the first time in weeks, he could see the dawn of something extraordinary breaking through the horizon. Yet, when he checked his phone again, a second ominous message from Derek awaited. You're making a mistake. Don't think you can face me without consequences. Zeus clenched his fist. The stakes were higher than ever, and the reason was unmistakable. Would this be the moment he forged his destiny or submitted to the familiar restraints of failure? With resolute steps, Zeus set his sights on the garage and the challenges ahead, knowing the confrontation with Derek was imminent. The real battle wasn't just outside him but within. What strengths would he uncover as the truth of his previous insecurities collided with his newfound resolve? As Zeus approached the garage, the cool air was punctuated by the scent of wet earth and gasoline. He pushed the door open, and the familiar sounds of tools hitting metal reverberated around him, a reminder of countless hours spent tinkering with machinery and dreaming of what could be. In that moment of stillness, a wave of realization washed over him. This space wasn't just a garage. It was a sanctuary of thought, a canvas for his aspirations. He had always believed that his connection to this space filled with grease stains and the lingering aroma of motor oil was weak, tethered to the past he wished to escape. But now he recognized it as a crucible for change. Walking among the scattered tools, he began to map out a plan for his confrontation with Derek, one that encompassed authenticity rather than reaction. Let us build something real, he murmured to himself, stepping up to a battered workbench. He started sorting through materials, gathering equipment and finding inspiration in the chaos. Each tool he picked up served as a reminder of his competence, of his ability to create and innovate. They whispered promises of potential. As he organized, thoughts flowed effortlessly. He envisioned how revealing their shared history with Derek might shift the landscape of the confrontation. If I can expose my vulnerabilities, he won't be able to use them against me, he thought. There was power in transparency. Margaret's ideas echoed in his mind, and he began to draft a manifesto, an assertion of who he was and what he stood for. He poured his energy into words, crafting a narrative that spoke not just of ambition but of resilience, reflecting the hard lessons learned from their father's influence. He crafted each line with precision, infusing his manifesto with anecdotes from his past that marked turning points in his evolution. Utilizing the stark walls of the garage, he plastered rough drafts of ideas, analysis, and sketches for what could be a new identity branded not by their father's expectations but by their own aspirations. The act of creating in this space fueled a resurgence of confidence. A sudden sound jolted him from his thoughts, a clatter from behind the garage. His heart quickened as he stepped cautiously toward the back doorway, peering outside just as Derek strolled into view, flanked by a couple of local mechanics. The sight of him ignited a fire within Zeus, uncertainty transforming into determination. Derek always seemed to carry a cloud of intimidation, but today he seemed misplaced in Zeus's sanctuary. Derek's laughter rang out, condescending and assured, as he waved his hands animatedly. You think you can just take back what's ours? As if these old dreams can be revived without consequences. Zeus clenched his jaw, feeling the tension build. He could retreat back into the shadows, let the storm pass, or he could step into the light and face his brother. Back inside the garage, he gazed at the manifesto pinned on the wall. His heart raced, not from fear but from the weight of his resolve. The words on that paper represented more than just a counterattack. They embodied a declaration of independence from everything Derek stood for. He couldn't lead an authentic life while still bound by his brother's shadow. With every ounce of courage, he took a deep breath and strolled to the doorway, stepping out into the dim light. The confrontation loomed large in his mind, and for the first time it didn't feel overwhelming. It felt like liberation. Derek, he called, his voice steady, cutting through the haze of doubt. Here was the moment where everything would pivot. Would he rise to the occasion, confronting not just Derek but the labyrinth of beliefs woven into his identity? As the tension mounted, their eyes locked, two rivals caught in a web spun from blood, past choices, and uncharted futures. Zeus felt time freeze, his next words poised to redefine the trajectory of their lives. With a pounding heart, he readied himself. The confrontation was inevitable. It was now about how he would wield his emerging strength in the battle ahead. Would he emerge victorious, or would he fall back into the haunting embrace of past failures? Zeus's heart drummed in his chest, each beat pulling him closer to the brink. The air felt thick, saturated with the weight of his thoughts. He had envisioned this moment countless times, each iteration marked with fear. But now, as Derek loomed before him, something in his stance shifted. There was an anchor in his conviction, and he felt prepared to weather the storm. You think you can just throw your history away and start fresh? Derek's mocking tone cut through the atmosphere, a bitter reminder of their past. His brother's presence was a wall, imposing and relentless. Zeus regarded him, not as the sibling he had known, but as an opponent to confront. I'm not throwing anything away, Derek. I'm changing what it means, he shot back, the intensity in his voice surprising even him. The manifesto had coalesced into more than words pinned on a wall. It surged within him, manifesting as boldness. It served as a beacon, guiding his decisions. This was not merely about the garage, nor was it solely about Derek. It was about his very identity. Each second that passed, filled with tension and unsaid words, had crafted a delicate framework. He envisioned pieces of himself intertwining with purpose, each a testament to survival. He stepped forward, feeling the ground beneath him shift. I'm tired of living in your shadow, he declared, surprising himself. Our father's dreams aren't mine. I have my own, and they don't include being a pawn in your games. The journey through the garage had strengthened him, grounding his convictions in a muddy but formative reality. Derek's laugh faltered, confusion flickering across his features. Growing bold from the shift in momentum, Zeus pressed on. You think you can intimidate me with memories of the past? You're wrong. I spent years trying to chase your approval, but you never gave it. All you offered was contempt. Now I choose to stand on my own. The brother's surprise bred fury. Stand on your own? You think you're capable of that? You've always been the same coward, hiding behind your tools and thoughts. Doubt crept in, but Zeus shoved it aside. Margins had blurred for too long. This moment demanded clarity. He had been a coward, but the growth from that cowardice was what lingered in the air now. And you think being the loudest in the room dictates worth? I'm not afraid to tell the truth. You've always manipulated the narrative, but today, it's my turn to speak. As his words hung in the air, he wondered if he was genuinely ready for the ramifications of this confrontation. Recognizing the depth of his personal growth amplified the stakes. Each phrase unveiled layers he had buried beneath years of familial pressures. He had to face the reality that Derek had always been right about one thing: fight or flight was necessary in this moment. There was no middle ground. "Do you think it's too late for me to pursue something real?" Zeus asked, flicking the weight of honesty into the air. Vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was transformative. What if you could unlock your own truth? A potential beyond just being someone else's shadow? The question hit like a hammer, and for the first time Derek faltered. Zeus sensed a crack in Derek's facade. A fleeting moment where the older brother's bravado appeared to waver. Was this confrontation forcing open a door? Or was it merely a well-timed joke in a game of chess? "Do you even hear yourself?" Derek scoffed, trying to reclaim dominance. Yet the uncertainty danced in his expression. "There are always consequences to change." "Then let us see what they are," Zeus challenged. He was fueled by something primal, an urge that demanded confrontation. He thrust his hand into his pocket, fingers brushing against the tangible manifesto, a reminder of his autonomy taking shape. It was no longer just a declaration. It would be a catalyst for what lay ahead as the two stood in a charged silence. The world around them beckoned for change. The stakes had never felt higher, and Zeus felt a thrill coursing through him. This wasn't just about confrontation. It was about liberation. The shadow of fear had begun to lift, revealing a path cloaked in possibilities, begging him to take the first step. And with Derek's narrowed gaze piercing through him, he couldn't help but wonder. Would this moment lead to the resolution he craved, or would it spiral into another cycle of animosity? The air crackled with anticipation, each heartbeat syncing with the cadence of uncertainty, as Zeus prepared for what was to unfold next. The tension hung like a thick fog around Zeus. Every breath was heavy with the weight of everything unsaid between him and Derek. In that charged silence, he felt something stir within him, a strength he hadn't recognized before. It was both intoxicating and terrifying, plunging him deeper into self-awareness. As Derek's presence loomed, he was no longer just recalling past grievances. He was charting a course toward personal evolution. Zeus's heart raced, pounding out a rhythm of defiance. He had always allowed Derek to dictate the narrative of their shared history, often shaping his own identity as a reflection of his brother's expectations. But now, standing on this precipice, he recognized the enormity of this pivotal moment. He was no longer adrift in the sea of someone else's dreams. He was prepared to define his own. "You think change comes without learning?" Derek's voice was low, but Zeus could hear the tremor beneath the bravado. "If that's your plan, you'll fail just like you always have." The words stung, but a new part of him emerged, one that understood the weight of vulnerability. Failing was part of growth. He had come to terms with that in the garage. He would confront the fear of failure instead of allowing it to dictate his choices. "I've learned a lot more than you might think. Every setback wasn't a failure, it was an education," Zeus replied, his voice firmer, devoid of the timid tones it once bore. "You've shaped your identity around being the bully of our childhood. What does that even mean for you as an adult?" The last question hung heavily, an accusation daring to break the tension. Derek's eyes narrowed, anger burning away uncertainty for just a moment. "You have no idea what it means to truly fight. You've hidden behind excuses and tools. You've hidden behind this ridiculous manifesto." A flicker of exasperation crossed Zeus's mind, but he quickly suppressed it. Instead, he grasped the manifesto in his pocket like a talisman. It was more than mere paper. It encapsulated everything he had faced, learned, felt, and wanted to become. It was time to let that ambition rise to the surface. "Maybe it is ridiculous to you," Zeus said, slowly grounding his expression. "But to me, it represents the rebirth of my desires and ambitions. It's not just words. It's the core of who I am now, a framework for building my future." Derek scoffed, but Zeus caught the hint of doubt etched in the lines of his brother's face. While Derek's external facade tried to mask vulnerability, Zeus could sense the faint echo of insecurity within him. It encouraged Zeus further, igniting a fire to press on. "Why are you so afraid to break free, Derek? You can take off that mask you've worn for years." We could grow together, he suggested, each word flowing from a newfound potential, the potential to rebuild, not only for himself but for the ties with his brother. In that moment, the weight of isolation on both their shoulders felt palpable. The wind stirred outside the garage, rattling the metal trim, mirroring the shifts in their conversation. It was world outside, alive with possibilities, a stark contrast to the stifled atmosphere within. Zeus felt the need to decide whether to step out and embrace this liberating force or remain locked in a struggle that only served to divide them. I faced my fears, Derek. It's a choice you can make too. Zeus felt the resonance of his own words, the truth of his evolution pouring out. A swirling mix of fear and exhilaration mounted within him as he stood unwavering before the man he had both admired and resented. Derek took a half-step back, shock lining his features, but Zeus couldn't tell if it was realization dawning or an effort to reinforce his usual dominance. The uncertainty was palpable, curling through the atmosphere like smoke. Will you let my choice challenge you? Are you prepared for what that might uncover within yourself? The implications hung like an unspoken challenge in the room. Zeus watched as Derek's defiance battled with burgeoning awareness, and he yearned to press forward, to untangle the threads of this difficult relationship. Let us find out together. Then, Derek finally replied, but the words dripped with skepticism. What was left unsaid hummed in the air: expectations, emotions, the possibility of new beginning intermingled with the risk of vulnerability. For the first time, Zeus felt a flicker of hope that perhaps they could transcend their history. But as Derek met his gaze, a part of Zeus whispered that things were about to get even more complicated. Discovery never came easy. And in that charged air filled with anticipation and dread, he wondered which truths would surface next in their tangled narrative, and whether facing those truths would finally free them both or drive them deeper into the cycle that had entrapped them for so long. Zeus felt the weight of Derek's gaze pressing down on him, a mixture of fear and challenge that hung thickly between them. The conversation had spiraled into uncharted territory, and every shared silence pushed him further into realization. It was evident facing Derek was never just about confrontation. It was an intrinsic battle with his own identity. He stepped closer, the hard floor beneath him mirroring the steadfastness he wished to embody. Each shaky breath he took carved deeper into his resolve. We need to be honest, Derek, he urged, the urgency dripping from his voice. I'm tired of fighting shadows. Let us face whatever this is together. Derek shifted, uncertainty flaring in the depths of his eyes, but Zeus refused to let the moment slip away. He understood more than ever that true strength lay not in dominating the battlefield but in the courage to strip away layers of pretense. This was a defining moment, a precipice dangling between resentment and reconciliation. Do you even know what honesty feels like? Derek shot back, venom cloaked in incredulity. Zeus clenched his fists, the manifesto still tucked safely in his pocket. More than you think, he countered, a tremor veiling his own bravado. I've faced my demons. Each confrontation has shaped me in ways you don't understand. This isn't just about what you've done. It's about recognizing our roles. His brother's response hung suspended, the air growing tense again. Zeus could feel the undercurrent of unresolved pain swirling between them, a shared history laden with wounds yet to be healed. As he took a steadying breath, memories washed over him. They were both children, forged in a crucible of misunderstanding. Yet somewhere along the way he had learned to work through trauma, while Derek seemed anchored in a cycle of familiar aggression. Zeus believed there had to be a way to break free. I'm ready to take responsibility for my part, he formulated. But I can't carry this alone anymore. The quiet desperation in his tone felt raw, the emotions colliding as if announcing a truth long buried. Responsibility? You've always been the one to distance yourself when things get tough, Derek challenged, the defiance in his voice holding a palpable edge. What makes you think this time will be different? I've changed, Zeus shouted, shocking even himself. The proclamation sliced through the silence, vibrating with energy. It was the catharsis he didn't know he needed. The weight of his brother's incredulity danced within him, crying out for affirmation. Derek's eyes narrowed once more, an assessment unfolding behind them. He was searching for flaws in the resolve, perhaps unwilling to admit what flickered in his own heart. Is that right? Changed. Huh? So show me. Prove it? Derek challenged, the air around them simmering with a mix of skepticism and provocation. Zeus could feel it coming, the undeniable tug toward a commitment he had to make not just toward his brother, but toward himself. The words echoed in the cavities of his mind. Prove it. It was a gauntlet thrown, each syllable redirecting him toward a future that felt tantalizingly close. How do you measure change? He asked, his voice softer yet firm, a formulation rather than a query. Is it through words, through acts, through something deeper? Derek's face betrayed something resembling confusion, a vulnerability crossing over before he masked it again. You think your manifesto will change anything? Suddenly, Zeus felt the manifesto burning a hole in his pocket, its promises urging him onward. This isn't just paper, he argued, pulling it out slowly. It's a reflection of every choice I've made to reclaim my path, to evolve beyond what we were. The brief flicker of recognition in Derek's eyes sent a bolt of energy through Zeus, fueling his determination. He unfolded the manifesto, revealing it like an offering. It represented not only his growth but a bridge toward shared understanding. As Zeus watched Derek wrestle with the weight of the moment, his brother's expression shifted, revealing the clay-like vulnerability beneath the hardened surface. What lay in their future needed unveiling. I can't do this alone, Zeus reiterated, holding his gaze steady. But I want to try. Will you stand with me? It was a question that held the gravity of their entire relationship, a tether stretching across years of rivalry and resentment into a possibility of shared growth. The stakes elevated. The outcome remained shrouded. Try, Derek repeated, his voice cracking as uncertainty and challenge coiled together. With their histories entwined yet unfolding, Zeus stormed into the darkness of the moment, wondering not just how Derek would respond but how much of himself he would dare to reveal next in this precarious dance of brotherhood. The tension thickened in the air, and as Derek hesitated, the unasked questions loomed larger than ever. Were they truly ready to confront the turbulence buried within, or would they retreat once again to the sides they had always inhabited? Derek's hesitation hung in the silence, a fragile thread threatening to snap. Zeus could feel time stretch, each second a weighty reminder of the stakes at hand. Derek's eyes darted, a battleground of competing emotions flaring up. Zeus, desperate for movement, took a half-step forward, breaking the stillness between them. With every ounce of courage he could muster, he invoked the one thing he had always wanted: connection amid chaos. Let us stop pretending, Zeus urged, feeling the manifesto warm against his palm. We've been estranged so long that we forget this isn't just about blame. It's about healing. The word healing resonated, slicing through the hardened shell of their feud. Derek's expression softened momentarily, a glimmer of the brother Zeus once knew flickering underneath the shadows. Healing? You think it's that simple? He shot back, yet his voice trembled, revealing vulnerability. Zeus detected a shift in opening. Maybe it's not simple, he admitted, the upheaval in his heart shifting from uncertainty to a fierce determination. But it starts with us taking responsibility for our choices. Look at what we've become. I hate it, but I will not run from it anymore. Derek looked away, a moment of silence swallowing his response. Zeus seized on this crack. The fissure running deep urged him on. They had been wrapped in cycles of push and pull for too long. What if we took this moment, this awkward, painful moment, and truly faced it? Not as enemies, but as brothers who might finally understand? Derek inhaled sharply, as if the air felt different, charged. What is there to understand? You, the golden boy, who runs from hard truths. You think you can reshape this? A cold steel pierced through the warmth of their moment. And what about you? The one too afraid to let go of anger? Zeus countered, his tone firm yet laced with empathy. You cling to it as if it's your identity. But you're more than that, more than our past. The tension pulled taut like a bowstring. Derek's jaw tightened, indecision crackling in the air like electricity. Zeus's resolve flourished. He had seen glimpses of compassion buried beneath Derek's stubborn exterior. Let us explore what lies beneath this mask. I'm not promising I have all the answers, but I can take an honest look at myself if you can, too. His heart raced, the proposal hanging like a dare. Would Derek step through the threshold into vulnerability? Finally, Derek's shoulders sagged, the weight of their shared history pressing upon him. You're asking a lot, Zeus, he whispered, his bravado fading. And it's hard for me to trust. What if I unravel? What if I fail? Perhaps failing is the first step toward finding out who we really are, Zeus replied, his voice gentle but unwavering. It doesn't have to be about success or failure. It's about exploring. Let us find out what is real between us, not what is rooted in pain. Derek's gaze fixed on the manifesto still resting in Zeus's grasp, a moment too laden with significance to ignore. And if we go through with this? He posed cautiously, the battle evident in his eyes. What does that look like? Zeus, feeling the urgency of the moment, paused to channel his own internal conflict. It means we peel back the layers, confront our respective truths, and maybe, just maybe, find a way to reconcile. It's about flexibility, not rigidity. I want this to be a journey, not an ultimatum. As the words left his mouth, he felt a rush of clarity. No longer would he retreat into the familiar mask of the estranged sibling. It was time for honesty, the unfiltered exploration of who he was versus who he wanted to be. In that powerful silence, they stood, eyes locked in a moment of authenticity. Derek took an unsteady breath as realization dawned on him. All right, let us see what that journey reveals. But know this, if you back away I won't, Zeus interrupted, feeling the immediate weight of accountability. This time I will see this through. Then let us see what unfolds. Just know that I'm not the only one carrying this baggage, Derek warned, a hint of challenge still lingering. With that precarious step into mutual acknowledgement, the brothers stood at the precipice of a newfound alliance, both aware of the journey ahead, a road rife with uncertainty but glimmering with the potential for profound transformation. As Zeus considered the depths of Derek's words, he couldn't shake a newfound fear. What if confronting their past meant exposing darker secrets hidden within them both? The uncharted waters of the journey beckoned, and the brothers were poised to dive into the depths together. Let us begin, Zeus said, anticipation twinging in his gut, knowing fully well that the true test had yet to come. Would they uncover more than just secrets of each other? Or would confronting their own shadows reveal truths about themselves they weren't prepared for? The air felt heavy as Zeus steadied himself, his heart pounding with the weight of uncharted territory creeping closer. Confrontation loomed like a storm, but instead of retreating, he found resolve brewing within him. The burning need for clarity tugged at his thoughts, urging him forward, allowing anxiety to transform into anticipation. Let us start with the past, Zeus said, his voice steady, cutting through the tension that still clung to the air. What is it that needs healing? What part of our history do we need to reckon with? Derek's eyes narrowed, skepticism casting a shadow over his features. You really think that dredging up the past will change anything? This isn't some neat process, Zeus. Could get ugly, a lot uglier than what we've been doing. We can't move forward if we leave everything buried, Zeus replied, feeling a surge of determination. I'm tired of pretending we're fine when we're not. I want to confront every unspoken word, every hidden resentment. Silence held them captive, time stretching as Derek processed the challenge. A flicker of doubt danced in his expression, but Zeus seized it as an opportunity. This isn't just your burden to bear, Derek. I have my own shadows that I've kept hidden for too long. If we're going to face this, I will go first. The declaration hung in the air, both a promise and an offering. Derek's brow furrowed. What are you willing to share? What secrets do you think you're ready to expose? Taking a deep breath, Zeus decided to peel back the protective layers he so carefully crafted. I felt like I was always the star of the show, the golden boy you mentioned. But that label suffocated me. I was constantly trying to impress others, our parents, your expectations, even my own misguided notions of success. I buried my true feelings beneath a facade. Derek watched intently, skepticism still present, but curiosity began to break through the armor. So, you're saying you've been living a lie? That you still are? Partially, yes, Zeus admitted, his heart racing as he stumbled onto a realization. I've been terrified of failing, of not living up to the image everyone has of me. And I think my accomplishments overshadowed the insecurities I was grappling with. A brief silence lingered, as Derek absorbed Zeus's candid admission. I never knew you felt that way, he finally murmured, his tone softening. Because I never told you, Zeus replied, emboldened by the growing connection. But now it's your turn. What are you afraid to confront? Derek hesitated, the shadows of his past swirling around him, the walls he had carefully constructed as his defense began to crack. I've allowed anger to define me because deep down, I was terrified of being vulnerable, he said, his voice low. I held on to it to keep people at bay, especially you. The revelation was heavy, each word laid bare like a wound before him. Zeus sensed the undercurrents of emotions churning within Derek, an invitation for deeper intimacy. You fought against feeling anything but anger. What if there's more to that? What have you hidden behind that rage? Derek flinched, but the momentum was building. Zeus had thrown down the gauntlet, and now Derek faced the choice to lift it. What if exposing those emotions means I have to face the fact that I've lost touch with my true self? I think that's exactly the point, Zeus urged gently. Maybe what we discover will change us for the better. We might find healing in letting those emotions surface. An undercurrent of fear and hope intertwined in that moment. It was enticing and terrifying all at once. Derek's gaze drifted away, wrestling with an internal battle that bore the echoes of their fractured relationship. What if I can't find my way back after revealing it all? What if I feel more lost? Derek questioned, his voice barely above a whisper. Then we'll find our way together. It won't be easy, but isn't that the essence of healing? Zeus countered, his enthusiasm renewed. Their dialogue was no longer a simple exchange. It became an inquiry into their souls, an exploration they had long denied. As they stood on the precipice of vulnerability, Zeus couldn't shake the sensation that this moment was just the beginning. The burdens they carried threatened to crack further under the pressure. Uncertainty loomed nearby, yet hope flickered like a beacon. What would this journey unveil? Are you ready to take that leap? He asked, his heart pounding, bracing for Derek's response. The silence returned, but this time, it wasn't heavy with conflict. It thrummed with the possibility of transformation. The question weighed upon them: would they descend into the depths of their fears or cling to the surface of their estrangement? The impending choice would shape not only their relationship but their identities. They stood together, arms outstretched over a chasm of uncertainty, teetering between revelation and retreat. A single thought pierced through Zeus's mind. The deeper they delved into their dispersed pasts, the more they could discover what they were truly capable of, not just in relation to each other, but in defining their own futures. Let us find out, Derek finally said, an edge of determination flashing in his eyes, as Zeus felt the momentum shift. He couldn't help but wonder, were they both prepared to confront everything that lay hidden? The true journey awaited them, but was the depth they'd have to wade into worth the risk of breaking altogether? Standing in the garage, Zeus felt the weight of his resolve solidifying within him. It was no longer just about reclaiming their family legacy or confronting Derek. It was about the emergence of a new identity, one rooted in authenticity and collaboration. The undeniable energy buzzed through him as he gathered his thoughts. He had already confronted the specters of self-doubt, inherited shame, and familial expectations. The manifesto pinned on the wall transformed from a mere collection of dreams into a powerful testament of his transformation. As the rain beat against the roof, Zeus turned towards Derek, his voice steady with conviction. We're not just breaking ground for a business. We're tearing down walls that have kept us apart for far too long. Derek's uncertainty still flickered in his eyes, but Zeus sensed something new, a spark of curiosity about forging a partnership rather than remaining adversaries in a conflict that had claimed too much from both of them. I've been so focused on my anger that I forgot what it felt like to reach out, Derek responded, an admission clouded with humility. Yes, Zeus affirmed, stepping confidently towards his brother. And I see now that your anger was armor, but it didn't protect you. It isolated you. We can change that together. The silence held meaning now, heavy with an urgency to act, and for the first time, Zeus felt Derek's guarded exterior begin to crack. What lay ahead was challenging. But Zeus was now armed with a foundation of self-belief. He had unearthed truths that would fuel their journey. Let us take all this energy and reshape it. Let's create something that embodies both our visions while acknowledging the pain we've carried, he suggested. Derek's brow furrowed in thought, but then he nodded slowly. You're right. If we're going to move forward, we need to include our entire story, every flaw, every failure, so that we honor it all. Exactly, Zeus replied, exhilaration bubbling within him. Only then can we cultivate a garage that's not just a space for cars but a sanctuary for healing, a hub where both our ambitions flourish. With renewed vigor, they settled into a rhythm of collaboration that felt foreign yet liberating. They brainstormed ideas for the garage transformation, each suggestion layered with honesty and intent their past positions as rivals slowly evolving into a partnership marked by respect. They sketched plans for community workshops, mentorships, and even a community board where locals could share stories of resilience and innovation. Days turned into weeks as they rallied support from friends and neighbors. The manifesto became a shared vision, merging their distinct identities into a cohesive narrative that resonated deep within their community. As the garage transformed, so too did their relationship. They learned to confront moments of discomfort head-on, acknowledging their missteps, fears, and vulnerabilities instead of hiding from them. The once icy conversations morphed into discussions filled with laughter, empathy, and collaborative brainstorming, a brotherhood reborn through the crucible of honesty. At last, the grand opening day arrived. The garage buzzed with enthusiasm. Cars lined up for the workshops they held, and a palpable energy filled the air. It was their dream come to life, a vivid tapestry woven from the threads of their shared past. As Zeus surveyed the crowd mingling in this vibrant new space, he felt a sense of gratitude wash over him. He had confronted his fears, put aside feelings of inadequacy, and established a future on his own terms. Finally, Derek approached him, extending his hand. You did it, brother. We did it, he said, pride shining through his expressions. Stepping forward, Zeus clasped his hand firmly, the weight of competition lifting as he felt embraced by a sense of belonging. No, Derek, this is just the beginning. We showed that our past struggles could be the foundation of future victories. The once fragile thread binding their destinies had solidified into a robust cord of brotherhood, hope, and shared aspirations as they stood together, ready to embark on a transformative journey sculpted by bravery. Showing the community what they stood for had not only redefined their relationship, it had illuminated an authentic path, brimming with potential. At that moment, Zeus Thompson wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a leader of change, a creator of dreams, a brother redefined by perseverance. Don't wait even one more second to share this triumphant conclusion. You need to subscribe now to witness more incredible transformations like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these emotional stories alive. Comment your thoughts and theories about this journey and what it means to you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful finale. Your support matters.